Horizon time, so we'll get started. This is the work session, May 11th, 2020, for the Tuesday, May the 12th council meeting. This meeting is held by electronic means pursuant to Governor's Executive Order number 16, and in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, the open public meetings of the Algood City Council are being held via electronic means with limited public access, but we are allowing viewing on Facebook. We are also recording the audio so that it can be played on YouTube as well, and all of our information is available on our website at www.allgood-tn.com. Is everybody ready to get started? We're recording audio in the back, so we're good tonight. If you all would, when you all ask questions or talk, please talk into the microphone so we be sure we get that loud enough to hear it. Some of the complaints last time where you couldn't see or couldn't hear the council questions. Mayor, I'm going to turn on a microphone here at the computer for you, and we'll try to get you broadcast as best we can as well. You may have to wave at me a lot if I don't see you since I'm flashing through paperwork here. So we'll get started. So, of course, the normal is on here. Approval of agenda is presented. We also have approval of minutes of council meeting that were held on April the 14th, 2020. One thing that we did note in those minutes is the information about the executive order and the COVID-19 pandemic and the limitation to public meetings, so we're being sure that we include that in each set of minutes. As always, once the minutes become official and signed, they are posted on the website for public access. They are available with the packet as well right now. And so we'll go ahead and talk about item number 3. We're going to suspend the reading of Ordinance 646-20. And then item number 4 will be a little bit different tomorrow night. So tomorrow night we'll hold public comment on second and final reading of Ordinance 646-20. And so we'll do a couple of things. One thing that we'll try to do is make sure that we monitor for questions on Facebook, as well as the mayor will open up the floor and we'll give the extension of the telephone number upstairs, which I'll get for you tomorrow, Mayor. I'll send it to you. And that way that call will directly come in here to the council chamber, and we'll have someone at the back with a microphone monitoring for those questions as they come in during that open public meeting. So we'll have some limited time that we'll take phone calls and take as many calls as we can. Of course, we can't leave that open-ended, but we'll try to get as much information out as we can. So this is the ordinance adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2020 and ending June the 30th, 2021. A couple things of note that are in this budget. One is that this does adopt the tax rate for the fiscal year. The tax rate will be set as same as last year. There's no changes. It will be 0.4407 per $100 of assessed value. The same as last year, so there's no tax increase. We continue to monitor our fund balances, and so we'll go through a couple of these. For the fiscal year 2021, we're estimating revenues to be $3.3 million and total expenses to be $3.8 million. That leaves us a shortfall of $517,424. I will note that last year we were able to put back $388,021. This year, for this budgeting purpose, based on what we budgeted for the year, we were showing an $80,278 surplus. I am proud to report to you tonight that the general fund currently has taken in revenues of roughly $2.8 million. And we have not expensed anywhere near that amount at $2.3 million. And so as we stand right now, we have a surplus revenue of $521,000. Now note that is subject to change as we do have some paving and striping projects still left to finish and some other things, so that number will fluctuate, but we are being conservative and saving as much money as we can, but I don't anticipate that we will go under $250,000, $300,000 surplus. This is usually where we land, so I think we're going to be in good shape. Now, I don't anticipate much to be hurt on the sales tax revenue. For us, I think we're going to be okay. I think the biggest thing that's going to be hit for us is probably state street aid fund, just because the tax is going to be down and fuel sales are down, and of course price of fuel is way down right now. We do have $187,000 surplus money sitting in our state street aid fund. We did anticipating that as a net zero for last year, and we are anticipating that next year, but we can pull that back a little bit if we need to save some money there. We do have the budget for fiscal year 2021 set at $133,650 with an expense of $133,650. That does pay for street lights and some street maintenance, so there's $70,000 in there for expenses to keep up the street lights and keep those on, and about $63,000 to do some maintenance, sidewalk, and street repairs. The drug fund is sitting at an estimated revenue of $30,015 with an estimated expense of $30,015, and currently we have a fund balance in there around $37,000, so we do have surplus money in the drug fund as well. Mayor, can you hear me okay? Okay. The cemetery fund is estimated to bring in a revenue of $10,475 with an expense of $10,475. And currently we're showing in that fund $310,720. A lot of that is sitting in a CD at Regions Bank to continue to pay for upkeep on the cemetery for years to come. Do want to make note while we're talking about the cemetery fund, we get a lot of questions about where they can send a check or a donation if they wish to make a donation for the cemetery fund, and we do accept those at City Hall. So they can send those checks to 215 West Main Street, Attention Cemetery Fund, and we will deposit that in the correct account. We've been getting that phone call a lot for folks out of town who wish to mail a check or make a donation, and so we've been making sure they understand that those can be sent to City Hall, and we'll take care of those appropriately. Give me just a second. We're going to take just a break. I got to check Facebook and see why we're not streaming.
Keith, don't they send a lot of them to Imogene up here?
They do. A lot of people are calling, wanting to know if they can smell it.
Yeah.
And we just have to hear. It says it's live. Sorry, folks, we had a little snafu with Facebook Live. We have corrected that, and we should be live now. The audio from the first part of the meeting, about the first 12 minutes, will be posted on YouTube as usual so that anybody can hear that. So far, we have talked about the budget for the fiscal year 21 coming up. This will, we were down to the water and sewer fund, so we're anticipating $2,000,001 for revenues with an expense of $2,159,000. Some of that expense is a capital project for the water and sewer expansion, and we do anticipate that the revenue balance will be higher than what's showing on the sheets here. As we do, let me give you a number here of where we're at right now. With the water sewer fund, we have got currently the revenues are at $1.648 million, and the expenses currently are at $1.604. So the cash surplus, and this is including depreciation. Depreciation is figured into this number, We have a cash surplus of $44,610. Once we figure back in the principal expense that we have paid out on the Bear Creek project, our audit purposes show a positive balance for our water sewer fund of $121,276. So those are both good things to have. We have to account for depreciation in the water sewer fund, and we have to stay in the black. If we do not, the state will come in and start telling us how to set our rates so that we ensure that we are operating a positive system. The water sewer fund, of course, is an enterprise fund, so it does have to fund itself. Capital projects do not count, and of course depreciation is figured in there, and what that does is puts cash in the bank for future repairs to your capital items, whether it be a sewer station or water pumps or things like that. So one of the things we're going to look at too is we've got some money coming back this next year, around $120,000 that's coming back as part of the state's return to the cities for taxes that they've took in, as well as part of the COVID, in case some cities need that funding. And what I'm proposing that we do is look at the water system that feeds the mountain. That pump station needs an upgrade, and we're trying to put together a number now so that I can present it to you all, as I think that's where we need to apply that money, is so that we get better water service on the mountain. The two pumps that we have now aren't big enough, and so we're going to have to come up to an above ground station and put a bigger pump base in to operate that system on the mountain. So that's going to be something we need to look at as we go into this next year. Again, I just want to iterate that the tax rate will stay at 0.4407. What we are estimating balances at, and I think these numbers are really low on general fund and water sewer. I think we'll have a higher cash balance than this, but I don't want to overestimate and then have to explain to the state why those numbers weren't where we thought they were. So the general fund, we're estimating $6.3 million surplus, unaccounted for fund balance that's just sitting there in case we need it. For State Street Aid, $187,000. For the drug fund, $37,000. For the cemetery fund, $310,000. And for the water and sewer fund, $1.63 million. I would note the drug fund currently has taken in, I think, an additional $20,000 than expected, so I anticipate this revenue number to actually be a little higher than what's showing on the sheets. Of course, the only note we have outstanding is the Bear Creek project. We owe $1.185 million on that project. The principal payments for fiscal year 2021 will be $94,186, with interest payments totaling $24,441. The anticipated project coming up is the $2.1 million water sewer expansion, for which we will be on the hook for $210,000. The other $1.89 million will be a low-interest rural development loan to help pay for those improvements. We have put in capital projects for this next year, and part of the reason the budget is showing a $517,000 deficit for next year is a huge expense for fire engine for $630,000. Unfortunately, the fire grant that we put in for we did not get, so that's unfortunate, but part of it. We do have some money in here for the farmers market and the park. I'm also proud to report that the historical grant for the White Plains House was awarded to us. So our match is $15,000. The grant's for $22,500, and we do have some funds in here to cover that in our capital outlay for admin, so we should be good there. And that will be for roof repair and gutters and fix some of the rotten eaves where it needs some work, and so that grant will help cover those expenses. The engine 1 replacement is a $638,000 expenditure. However, like I said, currently for this fiscal year, we have brought in $521,000 more than we have expensed for the year. Again, that number will fluctuate until we get final expenses paid June 30th. We have in this budget for fiscal year 21 sidewalks for $80,000 and an additional $100,000 for paving. We have some money in here to also extend the librarian to a full-time position. However, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the questionable as to whether the county will be able to fund the benefits, so that's something we'll have to look at closer if we wish to go full-time. We may need to consider that we have to do some of the benefits or all of the benefits for that employee if you all wish to continue with full-time. I do have some information in here we'll talk about a little farther down to try to extend the available space at the library, and we'll talk about that when we get to the building that we've talked about purchasing here. We've also added some extra money to the director for the senior center. We usually donate $6,000 and we push that to $8,000. It's been many years since we've given them any boost. Last year, one of the mayor's requests and the council's request was to give the senior center a van to drive, which they have purchased. And we're going to try to get that set up for you all to have a picture and get to see that. We're very excited about the availability of that van and what it allows the seniors to do and get out and go see things and do things. We do have money in here to continue working on the senior center and the library, $20,000. We are going to try to work to add a wheelchair ramp to the back door so that it makes it more accessible, as well as doing some more upgrades to the senior center, which we continue to chip away at a little at a time. For those of you that haven't been over there in a while, we upgraded the bathrooms a couple of years ago. The kitchen has been reworked with new flooring. The county actually provided a new stove for the senior center. We have put in 2 new doors that are double pane glass that are much better doors. You can see through them. They're much more weather resistant and save us on energy bills. We've put new heat and air units over there, and the library has put in a new door. And so we continue to work on upgrading that facility to give our seniors a good place to go and spend some time playing dominoes and cards and getting together and having meals. Of course, the UCDD runs meals through the senior center, so our seniors receive meals at the center as well as delivered at home. And they are heated up at the center a lot of times, and Miss Brenda that runs the center does an exceptional job with that, and so we appreciate all that she does for the seniors. Questions on next year's budget? Anything?
You haven't had any responses from anybody from the last first reading?
Councilman Hill asked if there were any responses from anybody last reading. We haven't had anything. There were a couple questions on Facebook about paving. Of course, we mentioned there's $100,000 in there for paving. There's $80,000 in there to do additional sidewalks. And somebody asked about the librarian, which we did fund that full-time position. And so those items have been included in there, as well as the Engine 1 replacement to try to get our ISO score back down to a lower score. Any other questions?
The fire engine will be paid for and received next year, or will it just be paid for and then what's the turnaround time?
It's about a 10 to 11 month turnaround. So our anticipation is if we can order it next fiscal year, we'll just barely get it in by the end of the fiscal year. One note on the purchase of that truck: in order to get it for the $638,000, that is a $30-something thousand upfront payment discount. So what happens is by paying upfront when that is ordered, we get about a $30,000 discount versus waiting till the end to pay for it. We think that's a wise move. It's a custom-built truck. There's no way they're not going to deliver on it, and so we think that is a wise move to save that $30,000 and pay it up front. Again, I'll go back to last year's budget. We put back an additional $388,000. This year we're hoping to put back at least $300,000, but currently we at $521,000 surplus. I'll go ahead and tell you it's later on in the minutes, but we do have a couple projects out to bid. One project that is out to bid is the new entrance signs, one at Burton Branch in Maine and one at Highway 111 and Old 42. We did put that out to bid, and it is due back May the 22nd, I believe. We also have a paving project that is out to bid, and I have that bid packet here somewhere. and it is due back May the 28th, and we put on there to finish Wall Street. There is a section of Wall Street right behind us here from Main over to, is it First Avenue or Second? Second Avenue that has not been paved. The rest of it has been completely repaved and finished striping. We're going to pave Pennock Street, which goes from Riley's Path to Main Street right here across from City Hall. We also put in there some striping, which would be out at Mirandy Road, and I did that in 2 segments. I need to pave out there, but I don't want to do it till the water project's complete, as we don't want to have to dig it back up. But the striping is getting in pretty bad shape, and you can't see it real well when it rains. So we did put out some striping projects, which we'll continue to work on into the new fiscal year, as well as additional paving and working on streets. We are finalizing the deal with Walmart for the Big Mac Drive extension. They have agreed to it. We are working out a letter giving us all the proper permissions to do that so that we don't have any issues, and we'll get that signed. And once that's signed, we're ready to go to bid on the Big Mac Drive extension project. So that is moving forward as well. Striping man. Main. It was striped 2 years ago.
Was it last year? I thought we were redoing it for purposes of that.
Oh, that is a small section. Yes. So that's already ordered, and that was only, can't remember the number, it was less than $2,000. What we've ordered there is a stripe and seal of the parking at the old City Hall with a crosswalk across to the furniture store from the old City Hall side of the street. The anticipation there is that hopefully before the end of the month, Red Oak Roasters will open their coffee shop. And additional parking will be needed, and as we expand businesses downtown, the barbershop's coming back to life, and Ray Builders, that they are going to need additional parking, so we're going to put angled parking back in there. So that striping has already been ordered, as well as that striper does some other things. He can do the crosswalks for us in other areas, which we're going to work with him on that, and also redoing the railroad crossings so that those have better visibility. Sorry, it took me a minute to catch on to what you were regarding. Next question.
I know you said this once, Keith, the $87,000 for turnout gear. I know we've covered this. It's just a huge increase. Is that to do the? Is that stuff that goes on the fire engine, or what exactly is all
No,
that?
turnout gear is the equipment that the firefighter wears itself.
Okay, so we're not getting any of that with the $630,000 fire engine.
No.
That's something we.
It's all.
And it says grant. How break that down again? And how much of that is grant money? How much not?
We were hoping to get some of his grant, and we got turned down on the grant, so none of it's going to be grant money at this point. The turnout gear includes the suit that they wear, face mask, the air pack, the gloves and boots, the hat, things of that nature. That stuff has a stamped date on it with a lifespan, so once it exceeds that, it's considered expired. And so those are huge expenses, and so we're trying to get more grants to cover those, as well as work on a gradual replacement where we replace 2 or 3 complete sets each year and build those into the budget each year so it's not such a drastic hit each time. Yes, ma'am.
I got a question the other day about the fire engine. I'm assuming it's just a basic fire engine, but the question I was specifically asked is, does it have a ladder? And
No,
I
no.
didn't know.
So the mayor has asked if the fire engine is a basic engine and does it have a ladder. This is a pump under truck. It is a custom chassis Pierce truck, but it does not have a ladder, so it is not a ladder truck. However, we do have a mutual aid agreement with Cookeville. In the event that we needed a ladder truck, they would respond to us. The tallest buildings we have are three-story buildings, and they are less than 35 feet. And so in the event that we do need a ladder truck, we do have an agreement in place to cover that. Ladder truck is quite a bit more expensive, I think. It's over $1 million for a ladder truck, so they are very, very high dollar machines. Did that answer it, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions?
This truck's still going to be able
No,
Maybe the
she
first
means,
floor
is it a ladder truck? Does it have the big ladder that extends?
Yeah.
No.
But I mean, this isn't gonna put our citizens at risk is my question. I mean,
No.
by not having this,
No.
everything we need it for,
It'll do everything we
it'll
need
still
to
do
do.
everything we need it to do.
It will.
Thank you.
And it will service the city of Allgood for at least 20 years.
And
So.
plan to do what with the other one?
It will stay here because we need a second line pumper to get ISO points, and so you have to have 2 pumpers in case one's down. And so we'll keep that as a backup, and I think we can get 5 or 6 more years as a second line out of it, and then we'll have to figure out what to do.
So after 5 years from now, we're gonna be looking at replacing that and doing something.
Mhm.
Are we looking at the same thing here in 5 years to buy another one of these, or something less than that?
I don't know that you'd have to buy another brand new one, but you're
No.
going to have to figure out how you want to address that and what kind of life expectancy you want. So if you buy a used truck, you're going to have a used truck. So we just need to look down the road and decide how we want to hit that, and we'll figure that out and tackle it when we get there.
The truck we have now is a good truck. There's nothing wrong with the truck. It's just stamp dated, and that's what's happened to your ISO is, your truck is too old to be your number 1 truck. So that's why they want you to have a newer truck. But, the truck can step down and, and still get points for it. For other things,
Slide up and turn your
supply,
mic on.
anything like that. It'll still pump and everything, but you have to have a newer pumper. You didn't hear me?
I got to be able to hear you for the recording. Any other questions on the budget? Again, this will be second reading tomorrow night. There will be a public comment section. We will try to answer the questions if they're posed on Facebook, as well as have a call-in line, which we will share that extension tomorrow night. It'll be 537-9545, and then there'll be a direct extension that you can dial into that, and I believe it's 2200, but I'll need to double check that, and we will announce it tomorrow night. Yeah, we just updated numbers that had printed incorrectly, which were those, yes, same layout, same numbers. 2200 will be the extension tomorrow night, 537-9545, extension 2200. And again, for a little bit of time there, we will open it up, and the mayor will allow comments, and we'll work with her to get those questions to where everybody can hear those. If there's no further questions on the budget, we'll move on to item number 5. Item number 5 is consider approval to purchase a used skid steer from Public Works Capital Outlay, not to exceed $40,000. So let me talk a little bit about what we've got going on here. We've tried to price some new skid steers, and I'm going to say they're going to run $60,000 to $70,000. We think we can find a good used one for less than $40,000. We have used in Public Works Capital Outlay $145,000 this year. We budgeted $255,000. $81,000 of that money went to a John Deere side mower for street maintenance. We have spent an additional $63,902 on sidewalks so far this year. We've made exceptional progress with sidewalks. If you all haven't noticed, they're using the one between Virginia and City Hall quite routinely. We've redone the sidewalks in front of the Methodist Church to allow for easier access to sidewalks or handicap, because those had humps in them to where a wheelchair couldn't get across them. And we also raised them up out of the mud. So we've made a lot of progress and tied in Virginia. And so there's a lot of folks walking, and during the pandemic, they needed to get out and get some exercise and get fresh air, so it couldn't have been better timing. As of current left over in the capital outlay for Public Works, we have $109,000 left over. We do have some paving out, which is the remainder of Wall Street, Pennock Street, and some striping. But we're asking out of that $109,000 to be allowed to set aside no more than $40,000 to find a used skid steer. And we can purchase used equipment absent the bidding process with your permission of a dollar amount not to exceed. And what we have to do is prove that the purchase of that equipment was within 5% above or below the market value for that piece of equipment and try to leverage a piece of used equipment that will hopefully save us money and allow us to do a lot more sidewalk dress down, as well as additional projects for public works with tile work and road widening and ditch cleaning and things of that nature. So that's what we're looking to do, is to try to get a track mount skid steer that will additionally help us keep the backhoe off the road and spread out the workload on other equipment. We recently had the main backhoe go down, and that was the time it was serviced and all the repair was made was just under $8,000. And so we want to try to extend the life of our equipment as long as we can. We think this is one good way that we can do that. Questions?
So this would be an approval to not to exceed $40,000, and it comes with some sort of assessment that whatever you purchase is within 5% of market value.
That's correct. So Councilman Hills asked if this is to purchase amount not to exceed $40,000, and there's some paperwork that proves that it is not an abnormally priced item. So one thing we have to do is we'll have to have a book value for that used piece of equipment, and we're not supposed to exceed 5% below or 5% above, so it doesn't make it look like we're giving too much or we're giving too little and somebody's just giving us a good deal so that we go buy it from them. So we try to stay within a 10% window, and we're asking not to exceed $40,000. We have found several machines in the price of $30,000 or $35,000 that we feel would be adequate size and appear to be in good condition. So we just want to be able to go look at those machines, and once we find one that fits that category that we feel is quality piece of machinery but still got a lot of life left, that we can go ahead and purchase that.
So who issues the market value? Who determines whether or not a $30,000 machine is market value for what?
On a used piece of equipment like this, I'll have to check and see. Typically, we would do NADA or Kelley Blue Book.
Okay, so you got stuff.
So there are websites or companies that are accredited firms that put equipment values out that we'll have to use. And so we will pull that data sheet for that piece of equipment, and I don't know that that upholds true to used machinery like this. NADA probably has something. I'm not sure about Kelley Blue Book. But we will use whatever that market research tool is to determine what a comparable market value is, and use that as the assessment of whether or not it's an allowable purchase under the limit of $40,000. One example is I found a CAT machine today with less than 2,000 hours, fully enclosed cab, brand new tracks installed, and the price on it was $35,000. And the machine was in what I thought was excellent shape. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not familiar with what a skid steer is. So is this a piece of equipment that we attach to a mower that we have, or is this a piece of equipment that operates independently?
So Mayor has asked what exactly is a skid steer. Does it attach to another piece of equipment, or does it operate independently? Mayor, they're often commonly referred to as a bobcat. It's the smaller machine with the bucket on the front.
I'm familiar with the term bobcat.
Right. And so typically those would have rubber tires on them, but we are looking more towards a machine that has the rubber track system because they spread their weight disbursement out and track better in softer dirt and don't get stuck as bad. So we're feeling that the track system on the Bobcat would be the better system. However, it may not be a Bobcat brand. It may end up being a Cat or something else. Kubota, Cat, John Deere. I think Bobcat are probably the top 4 brands. Any other questions? Seeing no other questions, we'll move on to item number 6. This is consider approval to purchase a new 12 by 20 storage building from All American Sheds, also referred to as the Barnyard, in the amount of $3,865 for the senior center. This is an all wooden shed. This is purchased from the facility over on Mirandy Road at Highway 111. This is a comparable market price. I've checked around with a couple of different other facilities, and for a 12 by 20, They seem to all be within, the two that I looked at seem to be within $50 in each other. However, this was the local company right here in Allgood at 111 in Mirandy. Andy Milton is the gentleman that runs that facility, and they will custom build this shed to the colors that we picked to match the senior center, and we're going to set it up against the back of the building and use that for the senior center storage room so that we can open up the storage room that's currently being used as additional library space. And so that space would equivocally double the library's usable space just by emptying the storage room out. I've checked with Brenda that runs the senior center. She's not 100% sure on sizes, but felt like a 12 by 20 would be adequate, and so we'll work with her to make sure that we get shelves in it and help her get the storage building that she can use. They will deliver it and set it up. This is a wood storage building that will be painted so it will look like the building that's there and not stand out bad, so we feel like this is an acceptable alternative. We do have some money left currently repair and maintenance of building. We have $18,000 left from this last year's budget. So this building will come out of that. We're also going to do some light upgrades and ceiling tile at the facility. And we were going to do some doors, and we've got behind and not been able to do it with everything that's going on. And so we're going to continue to try to work on that and try to get some more things done before the fiscal year is over. But we do have some money left over to do this. Questions? That's all I have, except I do want to update you. Of course, paving bids were out. We talked about that. They're due back May 28th. Striping on Mirandy, Pennock Street, and finishing Wall Street. So those items are on there. New sign bids are out. Those are for the entrances to Allgood. They are due back May 22nd, so those will be on the June council agenda. I want to say thank you to the citizens of Allgood for an exceptional response rate to the Census 2020. As of today at 2 o'clock, the nation average was 58.6% response rate. The Tennessee state percentage was 58.4%. Putnam County was at 62.8%, and Allgood is at 66.3%. So we want to say a huge thank you to the citizens who've responded to the census. We appreciate your support, and this means more federal dollars coming back to your town and supporting our projects and doing things to make your lives better. So if you've responded, we thank you. If you have not, we urge you to go online, 2020census.gov, to call in on the telephone line or to turn your paperwork back in. Urge your neighbors to do so. Again, this determines funding for project and how much taxes we get back for fuel to do streets and other things that we do. So it's very important that everyone turns in their census. A comparative number for 2010, Putnam County turned in a response rate of 69%. Currently, again, the county is at 62.8 and Allgood's at 66.3. So Census 2020 is very important to all of us, so please be sure you respond if you've not already done so. Again, thank you if you have. Any additional questions before we end the meeting tonight? Again, tomorrow night's meeting will be broadcast on Facebook. It will begin at 6 o'clock, and we will take comments on the ordinance for the budget. If you have questions, you can feel free to send those in by email or call them in tomorrow, and we'll try to answer those tomorrow night, or call in at 537-9545, extension 2200. Thank you.